In Luke chapter 15, Jesus tells a parable. It's called the parable of the prodigal son. And I want to take a few verses out of it, beginning at verses 11 and 12. It says, "There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them." Let me stop there. One of the most famous parables of the story is the man that had two sons. The youngest was fed up with the day-to-day lifestyle, living under dad's rules. One day he decided to take his share of the inheritance and head off to the big city. In other words, I'm going to live with the benefits of dad without dad. You ever treated God that way? It's the "what can God do for me" mentality. Amazingly, the father in the story agreed and gave him his share of the inheritance. Without a word, the son packed up his things and left home, and pretty soon the partying lifestyle got the best of him, and all the money dried up. Now he's out of friends, out of options, nowhere to turn. Finds himself feeding pigs. Out of options, he decides, I'm going to come crawling back home. Actually, aware of how bad he's messed up, he begs his father for forgiveness and a chance to just simply be a hired hand on the estate. The role of a son? No way. He knew he didn't have the right to ask for that, turning back to his father. It's easy to judge the young and the arrogant and entitled son. We got a lot of them type people around today, don't we? He doesn't deserve a job on his father's estate. And yet, the power of this story is in the father's response. In a culture where honor and shame is everything, the outright disrespect that the son showed the father would justify the father sending the son away without even a second thought. And yet the father ran to greet this son with joy, dressed him in the best clothes, put a ring on his finger, and gave him a giant party. Why? Because the youngest son had come home. Now, Jesus uses this story to paint a very clear picture of what a repentant faith means. In other words, Jesus is talking about recognizing our own sins and turning back towards God. It's about receiving God's abundant love and grace in spite of our sin and our shame and our pride. Now, we don't deserve it, but like the father in the story, God is ready and waiting if we just come home. But, here's the but, there's another son in this story. Listen to verses 28 and 30. The older brother became angry and refused to go into this party. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered the father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you, and you never disobeyed orders. You never even give me a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you killed the fatted calf for him." Obviously, this guy must have knew what was going on. Jesus specifically mentions that second son, that elder son. Watching the warm welcome of this screw up son, the elder son becomes angry. "What about me? I've never left your side or dishonored you." He complains to the father. "It's not fair. It's not right. It's not blah, blah, blah." The father in the story here represents God, who offers forgiveness and grace free of charge. You see, once we reach that point of finally turning back, Now, for the younger sons among us, the unconditional love translates to powerful, life changing testimonies. But what about those elder sons? You know, those ones that have been faithful all those years? It's tempting to look down on our nose at those old rebellious younger sons and in judgment and disdain. It's amazing how quickly the sins of self righteous pride take root in our heart. You see, in Jesus' day, the Pharisees often took that elder son mentality. They saw only the sins of others and worked hard to earn God's favor. Yet today's modern church sometimes can be overrun with those elder sons. It's so much easier to point out the flaws of others and remain blind to our own, unfortunately. But God the Father loves both types of sons, and He pursues both types of sons. And His invitation to return home is to both types of sons. The younger son is accepted, and so is the older type of son. Will you both finally return home? The question is yours. All you have to do is answer it.